Okay, so I chose to do my final project on the long-term effects of marijuana usage in high school students. So starting off, what is marijuana? Marijuana is a mix of brown or green dried crumbled parts from a marijuana plant. The plant contains THC, also known as tetrahydrocannabinol, which is the main ingredient that is believed to produce a psychoactive effect. Other names for marijuana include weed, ganja, hash, pot, grass, Mary Jane dope, and many more. So how is it commonly used? Most common way is by rolling it and smoking it like a cigar or cigarette, mixing it into food and consuming it, known as edibles, brewing it as a tea, smoking oils from a plant known as dabbing, and using electronic vaporizers known as vaping. Signs and symptoms of teens using marijuana include smelling like it, red or bloodshot eyes, delayed reaction time, mood swings, tiredness or laziness, hunger, also known as the munchies, or paranoia and anxiousness. How many teens use marijuana? In 2019, it was reported that 37% of high school students participated in marijuana usage, with the numbers increasing in 2020. Large percentage of middle and high schoolers reported marijuana vaping, so 8% of those were 8th graders and 19% of those were 10th graders. Monitoring the Future survey of middle and high school students found that 30.7% of 12th graders reported using marijuana in this past year. How can marijuana impact a teen's life? The first, it's an increase of mental health issues. Marijuana has been linked to many mental health problems. More common are depression and social anxiety. People who use marijuana are likely to develop psychosis, which include having hallucinations or paranoia, and longer lasting mental disorders like schizophrenia. The second would be impaired driving. Marijuana negatively affects skills required for safe driving, such as reaction time, coordination, and concentration. The third would be the potential for addiction. About 3 in 10 people that smoke marijuana have a marijuana use disorder. Signs and symptoms of this disorder include trying but failing to quit or giving up activities with family or friends. The risk of developing a marijuana use disorder is stronger for those who tend to use marijuana during their adolescence. So marijuana use disorder risk factors. 10% of people who smoke marijuana will become addicted, and 30% of those users are already meeting the criteria for being addicted. Some genetic studies suggest that a cannabis addiction is hereditary, but evidence is still needed. Negative consequences. So, heavy cannabis use can lead to building a tolerance and a dependence. After some time, the person is going to need more cannabis in order to achieve that same effect. In adolescence, it is a poor time to experiment with cannabis because of the developing brain. There is an increased risk for developing schizophrenia and long-term use harm to the lungs as well. So looking at marijuana withdrawals, the timeline between 1 and 2 days is an onset of symptoms of withdrawal where it begins. 2 to 6 days, symptoms peak severity. At 3 weeks, the most acute symptoms are resolved. But between this, the sleep problems are the most troublesome for some individuals in the first days of abstinence from it. And due to this, the relapse is common among users. Symptoms of withdrawals include anger, irritability, and aggression, restlessness, insomnia, decreased appetite or weight, headache, nausea, vomiting, sweating, or abdominal pain. So some short-term effects include altered sense, such as seeing brighter colors, increased appetite, altered sense of time, such as minutes may feel like hours, or changes in mood. Some long-term effects with marijuana usage in teens include cognitive problems, such as issues with concentration, attention, problem solving, learning, and memory, reduced coordination and reaction time, issues with performance in school and work, increased likelihood of dropping out of school, poor decision making and judgment, relationship problems with family or friends, an increased risk of depression, anxiety, addiction, or suicidal ideation. So, how does marijuana work in the brain? When individuals smoke marijuana, the THC, which is the primary psychoactive chemical, it rapidly reaches the lungs. From there, it goes into the bloodstream and makes its way to the brain. When a person eats or drinks marijuana, it does take longer for the THC to be absorbed in the brain. But once it makes its way to the brain, it acts on cannabinoid receptors that usually interact with natural occurring endogenous cannabinoid, also known as the neurotransmitters, which play a crucial role in normal brain development and function. Do note that the human brain does continue to develop until the age of 25. So in these next few slides, I'm going to explain what the endocannabinoid system is, what it does, what marijuana does to it, and how it affects the teen brain. So what is the endocannabinoid system and why is it important? Throughout the brain, the endocannabinoid system is a biological system that is made up of chemical messengers called endocannabinoids. They are cellular receptors that communicate with other endocannabinoids. Enzymes later break them down after they delivered their message. They communicate throughout the body by receptors and create balance as well as help regulate body and brain functions. This would include memory, coping with stress, pain and anxiety, hunger, body temperature, motor coordination, and alertness. How does marijuana affect this system? So marijuana contains THC and its structure is very similar to the endocannabinoids. And so when someone smokes THC, it binds to the endocannabinoids receptor and THC overwhelms the system and throws the body and brain off balance. The THC prevents the endocannabinoids in the brain from doing their job. Therefore, the brain has a harder job regulating all the functions. How it affects the teen brain. The teen may experience fear, anxiety, paranoia, and memory loss. On the developing brain, marijuana has a stronger effect than adults. Young people that use marijuana increase the risk of cognitive and memory damage, as well as serious mental illness such as depression, psychosis, and addiction later in their adulthood. So this is a picture of what it looks like in your body. The two main receptors known as CB1 and CB2, as well as the list of what they target in the body. Some adverse effects on the developing brain due to the binding of the endocannabinoids receptors and THC, it causes a dysregulation of the neurotransmitter system, and it could result in a long-term neurodevelopmental changes. So the effects in adolescence is cognition, brain structure, brain functioning, as well as the loss of IQ that is not recovered after chronic marijuana usage. Why teens tend to use marijuana? Some use it because they believe it will improve their mood. Some turn to marijuana to deal with stress, such as bullying, school pressures, relationship problems, family conflicts, mental health problems like depression and anxiety, peer pressure like wanting to fit in with friends, and curiosity. More long-term disadvantages for marijuana usage in teens include a decrease in participation in school and marriage, leads to lower income and an increased rate of unemployment, having non-marital births, little to no financial security. Physical health can also be impacted, such as weight gain, and lastly, the withdrawal. That is the end, and these are my references. And thanks for watching.